Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mindful Muscle podcast with my fabulous co-host in green today, Jody. How you doing?
I'm great. If you're new here, welcome. Gio and I are two friends that individually went on health and wellness journeys and collectively have lost 140 pounds and maintained that weight loss. And we each fell in love with the process of bettering ourselves and taking care of ourselves that we want to show everybody, especially the beginner, that it is possible through sustainable, healthy habits.
Amen for that. And that's the key. That's why we do this show. Our next guest, Dr. Amanda Atkins, is a double certified internal medicine, lifestyle medicine physician, health strategist, owner of Enlightenment Health and Wealth. She has a deep passion for ensuring that everyone has a chance at a healthy and happy life. Her most recent focus has been to help women who are overweight prevent and possibly reverse chronic illnesses such as diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. Welcome to our guest, Dr. Amanda. How you doing?
Good. How are you all doing?
We're better than we deserve.
Oh, I love
Exactly.
it.
Look, you are an internal medicine doctor, so we have something in common because although I'm not, I'm married to one. So explain the double certified, board certified.
Yes, it just means I'm certified in two different specialties. So, internal medicine is my main specialty, what I went to residency for. But lifestyle medicine is new. It's something that in my own health and wellness journey was something that I was looking for myself and then happened to stumble upon lifestyle medicine. It's a newer specialty. And I was like, this is what I love to do. So, I want to learn more about it.
Amen for that. And even though my wife doesn't have an official designation, we are into lifestyle medicine
Mhm.
as well. Too many doctors want to push pills instead of actually healing, and we're not about that. So, thank you for coming on the show. So, explain to us what's this recent focus? I know you're a woman, but what's a recent focus on helping women particularly?
I think it's more because of I who I see. So because I am a female physician, I see more women, and a lot of them were just asking more and more, how can I heal myself? I would say, or get off these medications, or not have to be on medications for high blood pressure and diabetes. And like you said, most of us push pills because that's what we were taught to do. I tell that all the time. I was like, we were taught to diagnose and prescribe. Like internal medicine, I tell you, you come to me and I can give you a pill. I'm not a surgeon, I don't do anything else. But because I actually learned more about lifestyle medicine, I push more lifestyle. And I say, now the work is on you and not me.
So, what do you feel is the biggest pushback? Because I said my wife's an internal medicine doctor. We have our own practice. And it seems like you talk to people about lifestyle and they're like, Doctor, just give me the pill. So, what do you, is it similar for you?
It is. I can say that was more in the beginning. Now I can say people actually seek me out because they've heard that I don't like to push pills anymore. And it's almost more devastating to me when people say, "Oh, just give me the pill, doc." I'm like, "No, what
Uh,
are you?" So now I try to say, "Okay, let's do both at least." But I think the pushback is more because it's harder and it's more work for the person than just taking a pill every day. So if I just
mm,
remember I can just pop a pill and think that's going to actually heal me and get me better, that's easier than saying no to the drive through, saying no to my favorite foods, things that I grew up with. So that's the biggest thing. And I tell people that's normal. That's just how we are as human beings, though.
yeah, we want the easy way out.
Yeah, I think too. Do you think a lot of it has to do with maybe they don't feel like they can make these changes, or maybe it feels impossible?
That definitely can be. And sometimes people are just not aware that they can do that. Oh, I can actually make these changes in my lifestyle and that would actually help with these illnesses, because when they come to the doctor, they're not necessarily looking for that because again, no one's told them that. They don't come to the doctor to say you need to eat healthier. They're like, I want something else. They come there. And then once they actually know that they can change this, I've been eating this my whole life. And I tell them, I grew up the same way, but that doesn't mean you have to continue to do it your
Hmm.
whole life. What you've done your whole life led you to this diagnosis. Do we really want to keep that going?
Yeah, exactly. What are the main things you're dealing with, and has it changed over the years of your practice?
So main diagnoses, you
Yeah.
mean? Like, oh, I say I see everything as for internal medicine. My love is for high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, because there's so many things that you can do to change that without medication. I can say I probably see more of that because people are looking specifically for lifestyle changes now, since that's what I've been really pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, didn't know that initially. When I started doing that, I was just like, this is what I want to do. So I'm just going to start telling patients about it. And people would say, oh, such and such sees you, and they told me that you like to do this. So I wanted to come and see you too. So I've been able to tailor my practice a bit more to actually get more of those patients to actually help them better with lifestyle. So I still see everyone else too, but I like to emphasize that side of it. So I'm getting more and more of those patients now, which I love.
Yeah, yeah. My wife being a doctor, last time I'll mention it, but they don't teach really nutrition in medical school. So
Mm-mm.
how did you get into this? Because my wife obviously got into it herself. What made you go in this direction?
And it was my own health journey. I started back when I was a freshman in high school, being an overweight teenager, just looking to do what I can do to actually prevent illnesses that were in my family, which is why I pick high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease, because that's what's in my family. And to actually be that example for my family members and not actually have those illnesses myself. So I decided to become a vegetarian when I was 16, which is unusual for the 90s growing up in Indiana. And at the time, my father was a meat delivery truck driver. So we had hot dogs, bologna, sausage, bacon. Those foods now that I tell people stay absolutely away from. So it's funny how life throws things at you to then actually go on your own. So I was actually looking for things for myself and happened to stumble upon lifestyle medicine and actually nutrition in itself as a way to prevent and reverse possible chronic illnesses. And actually, I have to give props to one of my patients. I would say within my first year or two of practicing medicine, one of my patients said that he was following Dr. Joel Furman, and I was like, oh, tell me about that. And so he actually told me to actually know that there was something else out there besides me just like trying different things on my own to see how it would actually work out. And because he actually introduced me to that, I went to a conference that emphasized nutrition with Mayo Clinic in talking about initially plant-based eating, and that doctor there said you cannot out exercise a bad diet. And I was like, oh, I've been doing some of this but really focusing on exercise. And by that, just that one sentence had me switch my focus from exercise to more nutrition. And that's why I try to emphasize that today. Like you said, we don't learn in medical school anything about nutrition. Some people say we have 20 hours. I would like to go back and see my medical school curriculum to see where that 20 hours was, because I don't remember that at all. Now I was like, now I definitely just learn for myself, and then that just spills over to others to help them out.
Yeah, 20 total hours, not credit hours. So, if Furman, then you are probably familiar with these two books.
Oh yeah, I have those. I have not to age too. How not to
Yeah.
age? Yes,
Yeah, yeah. We're big fans.
Dr. Michael Greger. Yes.
Yeah. For the record, I'm 100% plant based. Jody is not. So tread on. Not just kidding. She's a good heart. But yeah, a lot of people, us two being minorities, I'm Hispanic, we just assume that if diabetes, obesity, heart disease runs in our family, that's it. There's nothing we can
Mm-hmm.
do about it. How do we go about changing that mindset?
Oh, I love this. So like to have fun with my patients. So I tell them, just because it runs in your family doesn't make it your story. I used to say, because it runs in your family because no one runs in your family.
Mercy.
So like that, I was like, well, I'm not trying to, I don't like to insult anyone, but I
Mhm.
do this with certain patients I know I can joke
Yeah,
with.
joke
So
around with.
yeah, so if somebody's serious, I wouldn't say that. But yeah, I do. And they're like, "Oh, good one, doc." Okay, so yeah, that's just in the exam room. But I tell them, no, that does not have to be your story. And then I share a little bit of my story of like how I got started in my own health and wellness journey, because they look at me now thinking that I never had to struggle with weight. Number one, never
Hmm.
struggled with thinking about how my health should be because they just assumed that I was always there. And it was not the case at all. And when they hear that, they're like, oh, and then especially when I tell them how I went against the grain as being a vegetarian when my dad actually brought in bacon, which is a big thing for people. I don't know why people love bacon so much, but whenever I mention bacon, they're like very heartbroken by it when I tell them to get rid of that. And then it just plants that seed, and then they're like, how can I change my whole family if they're eating this? And I was like, you just can be an example. You can just start eating the foods that are a little bit healthier, not trying to preach to them or like, you shouldn't eat that, you shouldn't eat that, but just be that example. And people will start to become curious about what you're doing because they will see your health get better, and they'll be like, oh, I saw that you were doing this. And they may not come out publicly and say it, but they may pull you to the side and ask you. And I get this in my own life. Oh, I see that you're doing this. Oh, I see the videos that you're putting up, or I see you talking about this, so what can I do? And just those things actually light people up, like when they know that you're being watched for good reasons, and you know that you can be that example and change that for generations. It just makes them feel better that they can actually do it. And especially even for my older patients, that when they reflect back and look at what they can do like for their grandchildren and make that difference for them instead of the other way around, because I was doing it forward, they're doing it backwards. That really inspires them a little bit more because they're like, I want the best for my child and grandchild. So I was like, what better way can you actually do that than actually showing them a good health journey for yourself, and not saying, oh, my grandmother has this, my grandmother has that, or my mother has that. And that makes them think a little bit differently. Even if they don't change 100%, that actually just plants the seed for them to go and keep going.
Originally, I started my health journey because I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And yes, health issues ran in my family, but once that diagnosis, I'm like, I can't pass
Mm-hmm.
this on to my kids because they're going to watch me continue to make my health worse. And
Mm-hmm.
I want it better for them. I didn't want to have pill after pill because once you get one ailment, then you're eventually going to get something else if you don't make changes. And yeah, it can
Yes.
be hereditary can be a guide to know what to look out for, but it doesn't have to be a map of where you're going to go if you don't truly want it to be. But I also
Right.
think it's powerful that you can be empathetic because as somebody who used to be obese, I have felt judged by doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's powerful that your patients can hear that you understand. You're not judging them. You've been there. It is
Mm-hmm.
possible. Major kudos.
Yeah. And the thing with the health industry is that they give you the pill. Oh, you see the commercials, right? With the pill, it'll cure this, but then in the background, so yeah, but it might give you this and that. People talk about then you have to take pills to prevent what that other pill caused, and it's just a
Yes.
cycle.
Mhm.
The side effects, the pills to take for the side effects of the medication. And I like to emphasize that because a lot of patients will tell me when they come back, if we do prescribe a medication, that they don't want to take the pill because of the side effects. And then I come back at them once again with, yes, we know it causes side effects, but so does bacon. I'm going to harsh on bacon. Bacon has side effects. The chips that you eat has side effects. That coffee with all that creamer has side effects. It just doesn't. They just don't give it to you from the pharmacy with all those lists that are there. But yeah, I'm actually telling you the side effects of those lifestyle things you're doing.
Yeah, I
You're like,
created a
oh,
I created a meme years ago, and I need to find it. It was titled "Weapons of Mass Destruction," and it wasn't nuclear weapons. It was actually McDonald's, Burger King, Five Guys, right? Because it kills you slowly. Remember the
right.
song "Killing Me Softly"? That's
Yes,
what
yes.
these things do. What do you tell somebody though, for example, who's having issues, but says, a matter of fact, I just heard it recently, Doctor Uberman, which is well known. I would rather die than give up my steak. Now, he's not in bad health, right? Because I don't assume everybody who eats meat is in bad health. But what do you
Right.
say to somebody who has that kind of attitude and it is affecting them?
Yes. So then I say, what if you don't die? Because death can be a good thing for some people. If you die from certain things, then you don't have to suffer. But what if you have that stroke, that massive stroke that keeps you alive and you can't
Ooh.
do anything? That's what scares more people than death. Of course, we're all
Mm,
going to die. We can't prevent death
yeah.
from happening. but we can actually live and not live. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this a lot, and it devastates me because when I was in training, I saw a young male, I would say young because I'm in my 40s now, so he's still young, that actually had a massive stroke. And I was like, just think about how that would impact your family if you were the breadwinner of your family, or you're the stay at home mom that your children are dependent upon you. And death definitely can have a toll on them, but what if you're not able to care for them? They have to now care for you, which I have seen in patients,
Mm-hmm.
that the
Mm-hmm.
actual child in their teens have become the caregiver of the parent because they did not care for their health. And that's what I want to emphasize more than you would die from it, but you would live but not be able to care for yourself or your others, or your family. And that's usually more devastating than death itself. And then people are, their ears, like their tune changes when they hear that than death itself.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of
Mm-hmm.
it that way because I have mentioned the main reason I want to eat healthy and exercise is because I want to be able to chase my grandkids around in my 90s. And I have
Exactly.
said no point in getting to 99 if you're going to be bedridden for 15
Mm-hmm.
years, right? But
Exactly.
I like this perspective you put. Have them think, yeah, what about if somebody's wiping your butt, right?
Yes,
As an adult.
exactly.
Who's that
And
going to
most people
be?
don't
And do
want
you
that.
want that for them? Because I bet they
Exactly.
don't want that.
Yes.
Exactly. That, and that's it. And they don't. And it actually causes that actual child or caregiver to actually think about their health more, because then more caregivers are likely to die before the person that they're caring for too. So then you look at it that way too. So your child is taking care of you, and then they're likely to die before you do because of your own health and your choices that you made, unfortunately.
Okay, so now we've gotten the motivation, right? That you can give them that for motivation. What's some of the initial baby steps they can take to start making lifestyle changes?
So first, I always look at what they're already doing, because if we try to just do a blanket statement, then before I would hear people say, "I'm already doing that," but I usually look at what they're eating and how much they're exercising or lack thereof. So most of the time, people are not eating enough fiber in their diet, so they're not eating enough fruits and vegetables. If they are eating fruits and vegetables, it's usually during their dinner time. They're not eating vegetables throughout the day. They're not eating enough of the vegetables, or they're exercising and not exercising enough. So we try to take one thing that they are doing well and try to stack upon that. So if they're eating their vegetables at dinner, then we try to get them to eat fruits and vegetables at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And just doing that can actually help, because it's going to decrease like inflammation in their body. They're going to have more fiber. They're going to change their gut bacteria. All that is going to be good for them, and they're going to start to see changes. And usually the changes more of like better energy, better sleep, therefore reinforce what they're doing. And then they start to see some of those pounds come off. Their blood sugars start to get better, and their blood pressure starts to get better. So just those, that one little change can help out a lot. If they're exercising some but not enough, we talk about where they can actually fit in exercise during this busy world that we have, whether it's exercising at lunchtime, which I do for people. So tell everybody that I'm telling you what to do. I do these things too. So I go out during lunchtime, not just sit at my desk the whole time, or just talking to my colleagues. I actually go out and take for a walk for 30 minutes. So you can do those things, those simple things that you can actually implement to your lifestyle, that's already something that you have time to do. And you actually find yourself to be more productive at work, because people are like, I don't want to take time to eat lunch. I don't want to take time a break. I just want to focus and get through it. But if you actually take the time to actually do a little bit of exercising, get up from your desk, actually eat some fruits and vegetables during lunchtime, you're actually more productive during the day. And actually, like, test this in my own life. I used to be at the office till 7 o'clock. Now I'm leaving at 4:30 with everything done. So it actually does help people. So I try to emphasize these things for you.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay. So you talk about making incremental changes. And you mentioned fiber. Jody and I, even though she's a meat eater and plant based, she understands the importance of fiber. Explain to the audience why fiber is important and how little Americans are actually getting.
Oh my gosh, we are the most fiber deficient people ever. So, fiber actually can help you feel full. So, you're not eating as much. It actually can decrease inflammation in your body, which most chronic illnesses are due to inflammation. And it actually reconfigures that bacteria that's in your gut. People probably listen to your podcast. They're talking more about the gut microbiome and that how important that is and how that emphasizes your health. So we have like leaky gut, which leads to so many other things like irritable bowel, feeling sluggish, fatigue, all those things that those generalized symptoms that people feel. When you actually have a good gut bacteria, those walls seal up and you don't have that leaky gut anymore, and it decreases inflammation in your body. So you're less likely to have these chronic illnesses and feel fatigued and tired and sluggish. Fiber is so important. Like I said, we get very little, if any at all. That's why the first thing I tell people is add fruits and vegetables to your diet without trying to tell them like the fiber. And because I like for people to eat whole foods and not think of things individualized, because there's so much more nutrients in fruits and vegetables than almost any other food group that's out there. We just want to emphasize that for people.
The most engagement our podcast usually gets is when we say something devastating against the carnivore diet. And I'm a meat eater, and they still they get easily triggered. And they say fiber is not needed. If you're low carb, you don't need fiber. And this nonsense. And it's just, who told you don't need fiber? That's
I don't.
scary.
Yeah,
It sounds
it
like
is.
children that grew up and they just didn't want to eat their vegetables when they were kids. And then they found this way as in adulthood to make it a spinoff so they can continue not eating their vegetables. And it just
Right.
blows my mind.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I guess because I'm so focused, like if somebody says that, it just rolls off my head because I was like, that doesn't even make sense. Especially when I hear so many people talk about how tired they are and their constipation and trouble with sleep. And I'm just like, you need more fiber. What do you mean? So that's crazy to me.
Yeah, my wife in the Valley, she was working in an underserved government clinic. The Valley is Brownsville, Texas, by the Mexican border. And she would ask people, "Are you regular?" And they were like, "Yeah." But then after a while, she began noticing that people still had issues. So then she started asking them, define regular. And many people would come back once a week, every Friday.
That's why you had to be specific, because that is regular. That's crazy. Once a week, and then people wonder why they feel the way they do. Like, you think, what is coming out? That's waste. Like, you need to get that out of your system. So once a week, getting that toxic stuff out of your system is not good enough.
No, yeah. Share some of some of the success stories you've seen in your clients. Because as we mentioned at the beginning, between Jodi and I, we've lost over 140 pounds. And what we're most proud of is we've kept it off. Me since 2020, Jodi about 8 years ago since has kept it off. So what are some of the success stories you can share from your clients?
So I like to start with my own, since you guys mentioned your own. Like I said, I was 199 pounds as a teenager and have lost more than 60 pounds, kept that off. And even through like pregnancy and gaining the pregnancy weight and getting that off, and it was all due to lifestyle things. So it definitely can work and keep you going. I have clients that have been with me for over 2 years, has lost 30 pounds, has prevented prediabetes and high blood pressure. So she's doing great. I have a client that actually has decreased her blood pressure medication and had her doctor so shocked that her blood pressure was so good that she had to check her blood pressure herself. So usually you have the medical assistant checking the blood pressure, and she was like, there's no way that can be your blood pressure. So I'm going to check it myself to see. And she was like, what are you doing? So I love that. And the same lady that decreased her blood pressure, she has been able to actually run around with her kids and teenage kids, and then also has grandkids. Like you said, those are more the victories for me to see than just the numbers on the scale or the numbers for the blood pressure, her actually being able to interact and do those things. A patient that did not want to be on medication at all for diabetes. She was like, what can I do? And this was like even earlier in my career. I still love to tell her story. I was like, there are some things you can do as far as your lifestyle. And within 3 months, her blood sugar average was back to normal. She's like, I'm not doing this just with eating healthier, exercising, and just doing those two things. And she was like, there's no way I'm doing that. Those are my 3 top ones that I always like to emphasize, because it's like weight loss, blood pressure, and diabetes. It can work for all the things. And it doesn't have to be a different diet. You have to tell people different things to do, and it's all the same thing, and it helps with all these things. So that's why I love it, because it's something simple, and you don't have to say, if I have diabetes or versus if I have high blood pressure, is it two different things? No, you can do the same thing, and it helps with both because it
Just to
helps with information. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
just to clarify something you said. So that one patient, she was like, "No, I'm not doing this." Like what? Going back to her lifestyle, or she was
No, I'm
fighting
not
you at
doing
the
this.
beginning?
No, I'm not doing this medication. So in
Oh,
her
okay, yeah.
family, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in her family was diabetes. And so she saw one of her family members have to go on insulin and then lose a limb because of the
Ooh.
complications from diabetes. So
Mm-hmm.
when I said, oh, with your A1C now being above 6.5, that technically puts you as in a diabetes range. And she was like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
let me see what I can do to reverse this and change this. And I like to emphasize that difference between that diabetes and pre-diabetes,
Yeah.
because people are like, oh, well, I don't have diabetes yet, so I don't have to really do anything. And I'm like, no, this is your warning sign to say,
Yes, it's a yellow
don't
sign.
go there. Yes, stop now. Please reverse, go the opposite direction before we have to get to that point. Because even now, we know that even if you have pre-diabetes, you still can get complications
Mm-hmm.
from pre-diabetes, just like you can with diabetes. So it's not the safe zone. It
Mm-hmm.
is the
Mhm.
warning zone. Turn back now. Yes.
The misconception of prediabetes, are there any other common misconceptions that you hear from patients in your office that you wish they knew, knew other?
I think that's the biggest one, is that they think that they won't have any complications from it because it's not yet diabetes, or I still have time, I still can dibble and dabble in things. And I think I emphasize more pre-diabetes than diabetes, because it's more people with pre-diabetes than
Mm-hmm.
diabetes that they have that warning. So I'm like, I'm really harshing on them. Like, you can stop it now. Don't get to that point. Don't get to that point. So I like to emphasize that more than anything, that complications still can come. You still can have a heart attack. Your kidneys can still go down. You can still have trouble with your eyesight, even if it's not yet in that diabetic range. And because it just takes that one tipping point to push you over. And also that it's not all of a sudden that you get these illnesses either, because people think, oh, I've been healthy, and then all of a sudden now I have. No, that's not correct at all. It's a buildup over decades of you doing the bacon sandwiches. I thought I want to harp on bacon. Oh, that's causing that
Hey, I don't even
over
like
time.
I don't even like plant-based bacon.
The only thing that I've been able to come close to bacon is it was a tempeh that I made myself
Okay,
that
yeah.
had that. So I was like, yeah, it's okay. And people, they were freaking out at work. They're like, what are you eating? It smells like bacon. I was like, it's,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just like to emphasize that the complications still can come, and that is, it's not all of a sudden this happened. It's something that you've been doing to your body, most likely over decades of your life, that's causing these illnesses now. So we definitely want to change something to go backwards and reverse this to get you in more proper health.
So this lady, okay, so she decided I'm not doing the medicine. Jody has a similar story too. She was like, "Nah, I'm not doing medicine." What was her reaction after making the lifestyle choices and seeing the difference? Like,
She was very happy. I could say she was ecstatic. I shouldn't say happy, ecstatic that actually what she did worked. Because sometimes people believe that, oh, this may work for a while, but I won't be able to sustain it. But I tell people that's why you keep coming back. You need to keep coming back, especially for my patients, because I like to say I'm your cheerleader. Don't try to hide from me. I'm not here to make you feel bad about what's going
mm-hmm,
on. I'm here to continue to encourage you, because it is definitely hard to make lifestyle changes and do them in a bubble on your own, because there's so many things that are pushed at us for unhealthy habits that we need to come back to have that encouragement. You're doing well, even if it's not 100% of what you've changed to get to this point. I'm here to encourage you to keep going, even if the numbers aren't where we want them. You're actually making these changes in your habits and lifestyle. You're going to see the reward. So keep coming back. Don't say, oh, I didn't do it in 3 months, so I'm going to push my appointment back to 6. No, keep coming back. I'm here to make sure that we stay on track. So I like people to do that. And so when she saw that, she was like, okay, good. I know I'm on the right track. And I was like, yes, keep going. And then try to have them set up boundaries or I would say things put in place that they would know if they're starting to slip off track. What are like 3 to 5 things you can do to get back on track? Because we're all going to get off track when we're making these changes. And to say, so whether it's drink a full glass of water, drink a green smoothie, go for a walk, take deep breaths, whatever you can do that know that, okay, I'm veering off. I've been eating fast food for the past 2 days. What can I do now to get back on track? So you don't continue on that wrong path, and then so you can actually keep your health where you want it. A lot of people register with that. I know I'm going to get off track. What can I do when I know that I'm going off track to get back on track? And that helps them out a lot.
She made the determination, like Jodi did, I'm not going on those medicines. Sadly, though, you have patients who don't have that determination. Yeah, how do you try to help those? Because not everybody has it. If I could bottle it, I keep telling Jodi, if I could bottle up that type of determination, I'd be a trillionaire. I'd be sipping virgin pina coladas with Jodi somewhere in the Caribbean with our families and our kids
And
playing
I
together.
would be there with you.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I tell people too. Yes, yes. I would love it. It's more of those people, you look and see where they are and what their goals are for their own health. If they're absolutely zero, I'm not going to change. It's like how I would approach someone that smokes. Just to ask them a question. Are you ready to quit smoking? Are you ready to come up any of your medications? Are you ready? And just see where they are. And just by me, they know every time they come in to see me, I'm going to ask them what they're eating, how much they're exercising, and you start to see people's answers change as they come in.
They're
Even if it's
lying.
like, and that's what I'm saying. Are they not telling the truth? Yes, but I can say that some patients will say, "Oh, I didn't do anything," or, "Oh, yeah, I may eat more fruits and vegetables now." More is what we want than what they were doing before. So I try to look for and celebrate those small changes that they may make, or even just being open to hearing me or coming back because they know I'm going to ask them. So if they come back, that seems that they're interested in maybe hearing more, and the touch points I can have with them, the better, I think. And so I don't give up totally on them, but they just know that I'm going to ask them what they're eating and how much they're exercising. And just to hear that every 6 months, even if they hear it once a year, they know they're going to hear it. So I think it's going to make changes in the long run. I'm still hopeful.
I know for me, it's probably similar to some of your success stories. I started because of blood pressure, but I didn't realize how physically and mentally I felt like crap until I started making these healthier habits stronger and stronger with time. And I don't think we adjust to feeling terrible, that we
Yes.
don't even realize we feel terrible. And when people say, "Oh, you lost the weight, you better keep it off or you don't gain it back." It's no, I've already felt what it was like to be unhealthy and like crap. And you cannot pay me enough to go backwards now.
Similar to what Jodi was saying is when I was in a lean weight, good internal numbers all my life. It was from 42 to 40, and my wife and I had trouble conceiving. Long story short, she had celiac disease, and we didn't know. It was once she went gluten free, we conceived, and now we have 3 daughters. But I gained the weight with her during that time. But for me, I was so worried about her health and the pregnancies that I hadn't even noticed that I had ballooned up. And so Jodi was saying, it was once I realized, woke up to Shazam, I'm pushing 200 pounds here, that finally the changes. And she says, I'm not going back. Here, have you heard of this book?
I have not.
Changing for good.
Yes, it talks about the 7 stages of changes: pre-contemplation, contemplation, action, all that. It's a very good book, and I recommend it to people because that's just that. Though even this book, though, says it can tell you the stages, but it can't light the fire under somebody.
Right.
And so I wish we could, and that's part of the reason we do this podcast. We wish we could light the fire under everybody because, man, on this side of the health journey, feels so much better that you couldn't pay us enough to go back to the other way.
And I think that's a
Go
good.
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna
No,
say
no, go
that's a
ahead.
good point for people that they start to feel better before they actually see the numbers may change. And like you said, that just emphasizes that they don't want to go backwards. And that's why I have people just try some things for maybe 5 to 10 days of like the plant based eating and see how good you feel, because you don't know how bad you feel until you start to feel better. Because people are like,
Yeah.
man, I didn't realize how I was like just dragging, or I didn't have the sharp, my mental clarity was just foggy. And now I feel like I can actually think again. And you don't realize that those things. And just when you were mentioning that, Jodi, that just sparked in my mind. I was like, people do say that, and they're like, oh, because of that, I want to keep going. And that's one reason why they know that they get off track, is because they're like, I'm becoming more foggy again. So what was I doing? Oh, I was eating fast food all those times. So I need to get back on track. So
There are, even though we eat healthy, there are still the need for some supplements. What are some of the supplements you recommend? Like, for example, I have to take vitamin D at 10,000 units, simply because my vitamin D receptors only work at about a 10% efficiency. Even though I'm Hispanic, even though I tan very well, they just don't work properly. So I take vitamin D and I take B12. What others, perhaps?
yeah, so vitamin B12, vitamin D are very good, especially if you're 100% plant based, because it's hard to get those vitamins in. Vitamin D is not really a vitamin. We get it from sunshine and things of that nature, but we still need it more now than ever. For some people, especially if you're a woman and menstruating, iron may be another
Mm-hmm.
supplement you may need to take. Omega 3s, because that's usually not found very heavily in plants. We can't get that very good from plants. Sometimes I take extra omega 3. And even though we don't need more protein, sometimes I do like a protein powder in my smoothie. Not on a daily basis to say that I need to have this protein, but sometimes people
Mm-hmm.
may need that, but it's not 100%. We do get plenty of protein with plants. I just like to
Yes, yes,
emphasize that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Trust me, I'm always having to answer the question. And
Yes,
matter of
yes.
fact, I just had some edamame mung bean pasta, and that was 48 grams of protein right there.
Yes, yes. So we just have to look at different ways that we get the protein, right?
Mm.
So you may think it's just with the meat, but like you said, different things that we can
Oh,
actually eat
speaking
that
of
actually has
which,
lots of protein. Oh,
look
it
at the
just came up
screen.
there. Oh, I see
Yeah.
it. I see it. And like the taste of food, how good that is. How good that is. Yeah, I don't do a lot of supplements. I like to eat the food. Those
Mm.
would be the main thing. Unless somebody specifically came to me and we looked at their blood work and saw that they were low in certain things, then we may add in more. But those would be like the top ones that I would say people may be taking. So vitamin B12, vitamin D, omega 3, and then maybe iron for menstruating. And then occasionally, like I said, what I do, I may take a protein powder just because I have a smoothie in the morning to add that in. But I do add almond butter and flaxseed
Yeah,
too.
flaxseed, yes. Sprinkle it
Mm-hmm.
in there a little. And before I ask a couple of more questions, or Jody may ask a couple of questions, if people wanted to contact you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
So I have a website, dramandamd.com, or on social media, Dr. Amanda Atkins.
Okay, all right. And are you private practice, or are you working with a larger group?
So I work with a larger group in Northern California. So that's where I see most of my patients 4 days a week. But then I also do health coaching so I can actually get the word out and actually talk with people
Hmm.
about lifestyle changes. Because, like you said, those things that you have to have more touch points sometimes for people that actually are interested in making those changes and making them lifelong changes.
Yeah, I have family that lives in Northern California, just north of Sacramento and real close to the Wairika, near close to
Oh,
the.
that's really north. Okay, I should say San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay,
So,
yes.
My last question is, could you just leave a word to our listeners why they shouldn't rely on medicine alone? Why it's important to prioritize our health and be more active and eat healthier?
Yeah, so medication alone does not actually treat or reverse any of the illnesses that we have for chronic illnesses. So it would treat a bacterial infection, but not diabetes. It's managing diabetes. And that's what we actually do. We manage chronic illnesses, we don't actually reverse them or treat them. So I want people to actually remember that if you just depend on medication, you're going to get more and more medication because the disease state will progress. And people are upset because they're on 20 medications because they have side effects, and they take medications for the side effects like we discussed already, but the progression of the disease is still going to be there. If you make those lifestyle changes, the likelihood that your disease progresses is very low. And like we said, we can even reverse some of these chronic illnesses with lifestyle changes. We're not reversing any illnesses with medication. Okay. And you're going to feel worse with the medications because every single medication has a side effect. People always ask me, does this medication have a side effect? Of course it does. That's my answer. Of course it does. You're going to feel dizzy. You're going to feel sluggish. Your stomach's going to be upset. You may feel nauseated. Even with the medications out there that actually have shown to help with weight loss, nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, you're going to feel bad. You may see the weight loss, but these medications still can cause these side effects. And I just want people to know that medication is not the answer. It's like a supplement. You use it as an adjunctive to your lifestyle. And even with the research that's out there for medications, usually it's along with lifestyle changes, this medication can do this. But people forget that first step. It says lifestyle changes. They just jump straight to the medication.
And my last question, is it ever too late to make lifestyle changes?
Only at death. If you're still alive, you can still make the changes. And you can be 99 and a half years old and feel like that this is it. But if you make those changes, you can make that last 6 months, a year, 2 years. I saw a patient last week that was 103 that looked 70. It's never too late to make the changes. And like I said, you want to live and live. You want to feel like you're alive. And so if you're alive and you make those lifestyle changes, you're going to feel better no matter what age you change at.
That's awesome. Until next time on the Mindful Muscle podcast, we thank Dr. Amanda for this insight. Never too late to make the changes. Jodi, Amanda, thank you very much for being on the podcast today.